Hey guys, it's Jessica from Peace Love Books, and today I'm here with an exciting video because I am talking about authors that I absolutely love that more people need to read. These are the authors that I don't see being hyped everywhere. I wouldn't necessarily call them underhyped because some of them do have a pretty decent amount of people reading them, but I think more people need to read them. If their books have less than like 5,000 reads on Goodreads, I'm like, why aren't more people reading them? Or maybe one of their books has a lot of success but the other ones don't, and I'm like, please read these authors. Their books are so good. So I have my stack next to me. I'll go ahead and get started. The first one I want to chat about is Lex Martin. This video is actually inspired by her because her new book just came out. It is Second Down Darling, and this is book 4. This is later in the series. You can definitely read them as standalones. This one so far is my favorite. I'm halfway through. It is Second Chance Friends to Lovers, which it's kind of like second chance at a first chance because this one, the heroine was like in love with the hero since high school, and he thought she friend zoned him, and so he was like, it's fine. He hooks up with someone at a party, gets her pregnant, realizes that's actually his best friend's sister. She was older, so they hadn't met each other, and she was back in town and hooked up with him, and so he was trying to make it work. They had a baby together, and the heroine was always around, and then her sister kept on shoving it in her face, their sex life, and like that she had him because her sister's a very awful person. So she moves. She's like, I can't do this anymore. She transfers colleges and cuts off communication for 2 years, and then he transfers to her college now that he has broken up with her sister with his son. So it's a single dad romance. It's pretty angsty because it's her sister's baby daddy, like it's her sister's ex, but the one that she's been in love with her whole life that she thought she was over, and now they have a chance to be together, and there's some forced proximity because of things that happen, and the hero is very sweet. And I love Lex Martin. She has another series that's a very small town series that she wrote years ago, and I was reading her so much like 5-6 years ago. I remember I got into her when I was getting into audiobooks and I was painting my house, so it's been a while since I was reading her, and I love her older stuff too, so check out Lex Martin. She's amazing. Another one of my favorite authors I don't see nearly enough people talking about is KK Allen. KK Allen's someone I've also been reading as long as I've been reading Candy Steiner because I met both of them for the first time at the same signing, which KK Allen I think told me was her first signing ever. So she writes small town, but she also writes some romantic suspense that I need to get into. I've read I think 4 or 5 of her books now, and they're always so good. This one's my favorite in the Camp Bexley series. This is small town about a group of brothers, so if you're really into small town about families, check out KK Allen. I feel like people are loving small town and it's her time to shine. This series is so good. This one though is a friends to lovers romance, and it's so good, and again it's like, I just love that trope where it's second chance at a first time. They like were super close to becoming something in the past and then weren't, and now they're reunited, and she is a dancer and they meet because he's at like some work thing and she is there as the dancer there, and he is like, oh my god, because she got together with his best friend and now she's a single mom. Like, it's all coming back to me. It was so good and angsty. I love this one, and I need to read The Waterfall Effect, which is her romantic suspense, and you guys know I've been loving that genre, but I absolutely love her, so if you love small town, check out the series. Then I have been talking about her a lot since I read her book, but Lulu Moore wrote The Third Basement, and I loved this romance. It's a second chance. If we notice a pattern, I love my angsty second chance romances, and it's a baseball romance, and she is hired to work for his baseball team. It's like 11 years after they were dating. I forget how many years it was, but they're both adults. She's divorced now, and he's like, you're gonna be mine now. And so he forces his team to hire her to help them get better in like little ways, and he's very protective and possessive, and he has to grovel, and it's so good, and I'm very excited to read more from her. I do have another series that she sent me to read that I'm very excited for, so check out Lula Moore if you haven't yet. I feel like she's an author I don't see anyone talking about except for when this book came out, so I'm excited to read more of her backlist as well. Okay, so speaking of angsty, and I should have just titled this video Authors Who Write Second Chance You Need to Read, because Julie Soto, a new favorite author of mine. I'm obsessed with her. I have not seen a ton of people talking about this book, and I feel like it deserves so much more hype. Apparently, she wrote The Auction, which is a Harry Potter fanfic, Hermione fanfic, and I need to read that. I've literally already downloaded it because I need to read everything this woman's written, and I have such high hopes for her future as an author. This is her first like traditionally published book. She just previously wrote fan fiction, and this one is a second chance, very angsty wedding romance where she's a wedding planner and he's a florist. They met when they were a lot younger, and now years have passed, and we just know that they cannot be around each other. Like, she literally like has a panic attack thinking about having to be around him because of what happened between them. Like, they have to be back together. She has her first high-profile client, and they are requiring her to work with him, and she wants to do her best wedding ever with these people, so she's like, okay, sure, and they're forced to confront what happened in their past. and it is so good. The hero is so good. He has tattoos of flowers all over him. He is just very brooding and like quiet, but so smart, and I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed. So if you have not read this, read it. And I've already bought the Illumicrate version of this book because I realized they had it like 2 days ago, and I was like, I need this book in my life, so I bought it from someone. Over the price that it was worth. The limit does not exist for the price I'm willing to pay. Well, it did. It was less than what's on Mercari, but it was definitely more than what she paid for, but it's fine. I have this coming my way. Very excited to read this. I, for the life of me, cannot find this book, but the next one is going to be Samantha Young. Now, you're probably like, Samantha Young is like so popular. I feel like not a lot of people are talking about her now. She really was big in like 2015, 2013 when her On Dublin Street series is coming out. If you remember that time and you were into reading, you know how big that new adult series was. She was big with like Colleen Hoover, Abby Glines, and I did stop reading her after that, and now I'm back and obsessed with her and wanting to read everything. She has Beyond the Thistles, which is a small town single parent romance, and he is a bodyguard and ends up trying to protect her because someone is coming after her and like sabotaging things, so it's a bit of romantic suspense too, and I loved it. It takes place in Scotland. Like, if you love small town romances as well, you're gonna love this one, and I'm really excited to go back and read some of her Adair series. I didn't love the first book in the Adair series, but I did get two that someone told me would be my favorites, so she's someone that I feel like so many more people need to be reading because her books are so good, and I feel like not enough people are. So check her out now because she was super popular before, but she's still writing as amazing as she did before. Then I do have a small town romance author that has been more around lately, which I'm very excited for, and I'm really excited to look at her backlist, but that's Lena Hendrix. I feel like Lena is on the cusp of like being so popular, and you guys need to read her. She has small town series right now. I think her other one is like kind of romantic suspense because it takes place at this like ranch where people are hiding out and because they did like bad things or like bad people are after them. This series though takes place in a small town. This one's the single dad one. Book 2 is my favorite, One Touch. It was so good, but this one, he is a coach of a football team and he has a child and he is in town a lot because it's like about the siblings, and he falls for someone who is from out of town, and she is like an actress and she's in town to act as like a professional crier, and they end up falling for each other, and I love the small town aspect, but book 2 is definitely my favorite. Check out this series though. It's so good, especially if you like small town, and I'm excited to go back to her backlist to check out more by her. Next, I have someone whose next book I'm dying to read. So she kind of took a break from this series, wrote a standalone, is going to go back to the spinoff to this series. That's Ava Hunter. I did a read along with Tori for the series, and I loved books 3 and 4. They were my favorite. We have a best friend's sister kind of second chance, so they had like hooked up in the past because there was like something traumatic that happened to the sister, and then this one is a marriage in trouble romance, and then they go back to the ranch they fell in love with. These are such good small town, and one of them, I think it was her, one of them in the series had like called home to her brothers who lived on a different ranch, and that's gonna be the spinoff series. So she did write a surprise pregnancy romance, which is Baby Moon or Bust. I still have to read that, but then she's gonna go and write her small town romance that I'm so excited for. So check out Ava Hunter for a small town romance before her new series coming out at some point this year. I have to wait until Lily is done drinking her water. We have a water bowl up here. We have one downstairs. Well, we have 2 downstairs and 1 up here, and for some reason she only drinks out of the one up here. Next is an author I'm sure you heard of before, but I feel like people hype her other series and that's it, and not really this series, or I don't even know what else she's been writing, but she needs more love, and that is Fiona Cole. I loved this series, and the most reviews it has is like 5,000, which is good for a series, but I expected it to be way more, and I would love for her to get more readers. So this series is so fun. This is another one that I did a read along with Tori, and we have Blame It on the Champagne, Wake Up Married in Vegas, which was not my favorite in the series, but these two are definitely my favorite. We have a second chance between step siblings. They are not step siblings anymore, but he's a rock star, and she has to go on tour with them. And then this one is a Friends to Lovers, where they also got married and they had to play it off that they really meant to get married. So these are all so fun and super spicy. She writes such good spice, and I personally like this better than her voyeur series. Her voyeur series is about like a voyeur club, but these I love better, and I can't wait to see what else she writes. So if you read anything, read these from Fiona. Then I have Rebecca Gensch. I really enjoyed Wildcat, and I read her Christmas novellas, which were so cute. She definitely writes more younger adult / new adult, like not young adult, but she typically writes college romances, which is her Wildflower series, and then these feel very, like, I think they're in their 20s still, or they're professional hockey players. I read this one, and I really enjoyed it. It is a romance where it's the coach's daughter, but he didn't know it was the coach's daughter, and I really enjoyed reading this one. They had hooked up, and they didn't know who each other was, and he's a hockey player. So I think that Rebecca Gensch is such a good sports romance author, and I think almost all of them are sports romances, even her Christmas ones. I do have her Christmas novellas. This one is Holiday with the Players. I thought it was super fun, and they are about athletes. I think they're twins, actually, that fall in love with two different athletes, but she writes such good romances. Definitely check her out. And the last one is one that I recently read and loved so much. The summer vibes in this were perfect, and that is Bridget Morrissey. This one is That Summer Feeling, and it's a sapphic romance at an adult sleepaway camp, and there's so much family in here and just finding yourself and your identity. The one heroine, Garland, she has just gotten divorced, and she thought she had this whole picture perfect like life she wanted to achieve. She's at this camp with her sister, and they never wanted a marriage like their parents because their parents hate each other. And then there is Stevie, who is there with her 3 or 4 brothers who are really fun, and Garland had this kind of like vision where that she was madly in love with one of the brothers. It's got that little bit of like magical feel to it, but that's like it. So then she's like, oh, like that's the guy like from my dreams. And so Stevie obviously like really likes Garland, but she tries to go along with it and says like, okay, we can just like see if my brother is into you because they are roommates at this camp. And there's a lot of stuff going on between Garland and her sister, and just exploring like how they're living their lives and how their parents have affected them, and then their older sister who's like 10 years older than them. And it's so sweet watching Garland and Stevie fall in love, and I am excited to read more. Like, I saw that this author had another one that I think was a road trip romance. It had like a road and 2 people on it, and I was like, I remember seeing that Barnes & Noble and being interested. I want to read so much more from her now, so check this one out and check out this author because this one was so cute. And those are some authors that if you haven't yet, you have to check them out. I loved all of them, and I think that they all deserve so many more readers, so definitely check them out and let me know if you have any other authors that you feel need more hype and more readers and more love. I would love to hear, and that's all I have. As always, thank you so much for watching, and have a good day.